So there's a welcome help for Egypt from the IMF.
I'm very happy to announce today and to confirm that we will support this program through a 12-month standby arrangement in the amount of US $3 billion.
Now, the loan is meant to help the North African country fund its widening budget deficit. The revolution, which toppled former President Hosni Mubarak in February, has hurt tourism revenue and industrial output. Let's get more insight from one of Egypt's richest men now. Naguib Sawiris is chairman of Orascom Telecom Holdings. He's been urging Egyptian businessmen to go back into politics, and he recently founded the Free Egyptians Party, which aims to promote capitalism. He joins us on the phone now from Cairo. Mr. Sawiris, welcome. Can I get your reaction to that IMF loan first? $3 billion, just 1.5% interest rate. Is that enough? Is that the support the transitional government needs to get the economy back on track?
It will definitely help because the gap we had was around 12 billion. So if we get the 3 billion and there is a 4 billion promise from Saudi Arabia in form of loans too, the European Union recently had a meeting and promised more than 20 billion to Egypt and Tunisia. I think if we get all this mobilized but really active in a short term, I think we are okay. The problem is that mostly these loans are always very bureaucratic. They require a lot of time to be implemented, and that's really the fear I have. But on terms of an amount, it is very satisfactory, and it's only about the application that it's not bureaucratic. That's what I'm hoping for.
Since Mubarak has gone, what's Egypt like to do business in these days? Is it easier than it was? Is there less red tape, more bureaucracy? Is it still about who you know in the country?
No, it's not anymore about who you know. That's the good news. The bad news is there is a sentiment between the younger people. A lot of them are on the left side. There is a sentiment that all businessmen are crooks. There is also a return from free economy. I mean, the last balance that was presented by the Minister of Finance included a lot of measures that the business community in Egypt understands as being hostile or investor unfriendly, and that's the fear we have now. And that's why we are working. I'm working on the political side to explain to people that there is no other way but the free economy. And that capitalism with a social mind is the best way forward, you know.
Yeah, Naguib, you did mention that there. When people came to the streets, it wasn't just about forcing Mubarak out of power. There was a lot of anger directed at the entrepreneurs, those wealthy businessmen. How do you rebuild the image of wealth entrepreneurs?
Well, it's by explaining to people that what the free economy does and what business does for the society. We create a lot of jobs. I mean, we are the largest employer in Egypt. We employ 240,000 people with their families. If every single businessman will be scared and will keep his money at his account and will not invest it in the country, the unemployment will rise. We have one of the highest unemployment in the region already. And therefore, we explain that to people. We also explain to them that we are the largest taxpayers, you know, and that this money we pay as taxpayers is the money that is used for roads, schools, and healthcare. So we are doing that, you know. Many people understand that, but there is also, as I said, a strong return to socialism or a leftist sentiment between the young people who did the revolution, which is why we went to establish our political party.
Mr. Sawiris, you mentioned tax there. What do you make of the progressive tax? This is, of course, a 5% tax which is imposed on companies and individuals that make more than £10 million a year. It seems pretty punitive when you know that corporate earnings are still not doing that well.
Well, I think the 5% increase, the corporate tax increase from 20 to 25% is not a disaster. That is, all the business community has welcomed with that because the old 20% was on the low side. But the disaster is on the 10% capital gain that they wanted to implement, and there's discussion now that they will withdraw that because it will scare people off our stock exchange, which needs to be alive. And also we have some other laws, you know, like the 10% profit share by the employers, which is mandatory. If all this was implemented, the total tax rate would go and be uncompetitive compared to countries like Algeria, Russia, and so on. So investors would move on. That's
so,
the
Mr.
problem.
Sawiris, are you saying that you would be completely against this capital gain tax of 10%? And is there any leeway that the government in the draft budget would actually get rid of that capital gains tax?
We are totally against that. We have explained our point of view to the Minister of Finance, and we feel, and the press also has been really supportive on that. And the head of the Cairo Stock Exchange was a very brave man, has expressed his concern too. I think they will retreat for that. There are other measures that they could do. They could increase benzene price for luxury cars, the 95 benzene. They could also increase the customs on luxury cars. They could increase the taxes on cigarettes. There is a lot of measures where they can penalize the rich, and get some income, like on the high-end electricity bills. They could do that. I mean, I don't mind them taking from the personal rich to balance the poor. But if they start to target the businesses, we are in a big problem. We need to employ people. That's the challenge right now.
Yeah, that's very understood, Mr. Naguib Sawiris there. Of course, it will have an impact on also foreign direct investment. The chairman there of Orascom Telecom.